Hi guys, Matt has just returned back from Sandgate Auto and he has our vehicle with all of the solar panels and gear loaded in and ready to go. So let us show you what they've been up to. It's really exciting. As you can see behind me here, we have the solar panels on the roof.
Hey peeps.
And we actually had a little bit of a issue whereby Sandgate had thought that we were going to be putting the solar panels directly onto the roof, but we'd actually already bought the roof racks. So they've installed roof racks here, as you can see above. They've got the solar panels on top of the roof racks. So that was a good little buy. Over here, there is all the equipment that we can use for when we go and plug in at the caravan park. I like the fact that it's black and not stark white next to our blue car. It makes it less obvious.
Check it out. Plug goes in there when you're at a caravan park.
Wow. Okay, well I haven't seen this yet, so this is pretty exciting. Matt's already received a bit of a rundown, so he'll have to fill in the gaps.
They've done a pretty good job. What they've done is they've installed a power point down here for us. So we've got the two outlets there and a USB and a USB-C.
Yay!
Very cool.
That's very smart.
Little switch there. Now that little switch there is for when our, let's just pop this up a little bit higher. You're going to look up my nose for a second, yeah? Okay. Now let's spin around. Immediately above us here, you can see there's that white outlet there and there's another white outlet there. As that opens above us, Chrissy, you want to get in the shot so you can talk?
I don't want them looking up my nose.
Look at my boogers. When you flip the switch that we just pointed to over there, there's going to be two lights on the back here, maybe 3 or 4, where you can see what they can wire into those. They might be able to double up on some of them. And they're going to be our work lights for when we're cooking at night. So there'll be an orange light that'll go in there. I'm going to see if we can get a light that can toggle between orange and white.
Apparently the orange light is supposed to help keeping the bugs away. Living in Australia, that's actually really important, especially in the outback where there are lots and lots of flies. I'm not sure how much that'll affect us with the lights, but certainly will help as far as the mosquitoes and stuff like that. If and when we camp near lakes, there are so many bugs.
I've had some Aussie bites when we were camping in the Swift. We pulled up at one place not far out of Shepparton and camped there, and we're packing up in the morning frantically. And I got bitten by a mozzie about here, and my head swelled up like a big egg bump on my head. Like I was.
Someone had donged him in the head with a frying pan or something.
Memories of when I was 6 and my brother threw toys at me and I boom, Tonka truck in the head.
We've got a photo.
Oh, no,
not the Tonka truck, but the boulder.
That's an earlier one. I had a few blows to the head when I was younger, which might explain a few things. You didn't laugh at that. Wow.
Oh.
Okay.
You're a boy. I can't.
Boys get hit in the head.
Boys just do stupid shit. What can I say?
Let's spin this around. So I'm going to point out a few things to you. Looking at what we've got here, we've got the power, and you saw already the outlets on the side, right? So this is all important powery sort of stuff. Not an electrician, so I'm using the wrong terms. Let's have a look down here. You can see down here, we've got all of the main circuitry stuff. I'll need to make sure that the paneling that I'm putting in this space takes into account that little protrusion. So I'll be able to cut around that and do that quite nicely, which will be fine. And just down in the bottom there, you can see that's where the back of the GPO is. So we've still got quite a lot of space down there for storage, which is pretty cool. Our job over the next couple of weeks is going to be fixing up a lot of this stuff, getting the panels put on, tidying up those areas, and just generally also fixing the roof space. You can see there's the fans have been installed and there's a couple of bits and pieces that we need to look at there. We did originally plan for the fan to go up in that space there that Chrissy's pointing to. They've moved it back because there wasn't enough space for it to be able to fit there due to where the solar panels are.
Yeah, the solar panel comes up to here. It fills that whole space and it fills that whole space there. Yeah.
We've got two 350 watt solar panels up there, and they're going to pump out quite a lot of power for us. So let's have a look at this next section. I'm going to spin the camera around.
Okay, so what have we got here?
So that is the Smart Solar Charger Controller, the MPPT 100-150. It's a solar panel thing.
That's always useful.
I don't know exactly which part of the component or setup that is, but that definitely is connected to what is labelled as a PV isolation down the bottom there.
So for those of you electrician/solar experts out there, please pop some information down below to help people understand what this is, because we haven't got the foggiest.
So they've got all this stuff set up for us, and honestly, I was surprised. They didn't need all of the components that we bought. There were 2 bits that were recommended by the supplier that didn't need to get used. So we've got a digital multi-controller that wasn't used. And we've also got a USB 3 MK3 interface thingamajiggy that wasn't used. So once they've finished all of this setup and they've fitted everything off, I'll just confirm with them whether we actually need any of this. Can we get a refund or whatever from the supplier, because they haven't been opened, so they could probably put those back on the shelf. What they've explained to me is that's the DC to DC charger. So all the power from the battery while we're driving will go through here to be able to top things up. This is a part of the connection to the Multiplus apparently, which is hiding in the box just down under there. We've got our solar reg and our DC to DC here with a little switch, and I was told, have a look inside there. If any of those are broken as fuses, then that's a point for us to check. So there's some steps they'll walk through with us, and they've labelled everything here. So all the connections and the fuses have all been labelled there, and we can actually check those fuses as well. You pop the cover off and pull those out, and we know what all of those fuses and circuits are all connected to. So then we'll grab the camera and spin it down here. Now this looks really, really boring. Like they've done a great job. They've put a panel in here for us to cover over everything that's down there. Multiplus, the big beast monster brains of the whole thing. There's like stuff and cables that go into there. That's probably the most expensive and biggest component in there. And then we have our Cerbo GX here, which is apparently connected to the whole system. Apparently with this whole rig, everything that's set up, once we're on the internet and we're connected to the system, the installers can dial in and see from a diagnostics point of view exactly what's going on with our setup. So if we have any issues anywhere in Australia or anywhere in the world, they can check it out and they can say, okay, do this, do that, do the other, and help us troubleshoot things. There's that little black connector there, our 12 volt for our Hulk. We've got one more port there, which is really, really cool. And we've got a Anderson plug, a mini Anderson in there, the little grey switchy thing. And we've also got, main circuits down there as well and other bits and pieces. So any electricians who are looking at this would know exactly what they're looking at, and they'd know that I'm making a complete hash of how I'm describing what's going on here. And we cut the breather holes along the back for the unit to be able to make sure it can vent from a refrigeration point of view.
And then under this, which probably doesn't look like much, we've got our batteries. We've got one fan over there, another fan over here. Our workstation's just going to be over here, so that's the reason why we put this here. And it's got a 360, or it should have a 360 thing. So that'll turn and be able to point to us when it's hot. And then we've just above my head here, we've got the ventilation fan outlet, which also has some lights in here.
Yeah.
And I can't see that the lights that have been installed just yet. No, not yet. It's just above here. So that little white thing here is for the lights, and then there's another one over there which you may or may not be able to see. And
there'll be two here. So what we're going to effectively have, let me just pull that back and give you some context. So what we're effectively going to have is that's the original factory install light, so the high ace van. We've still got the plug for that, and I'm going to have a chat with them and find out what their plan is with that. They said that there was something about it being negative switch, where it's going to be too hard to be able to use that wiring to be able to put another light in there. So what we may do is when we put the ceiling back on, we may just fit the original high ace lights back in there and just be door tripped lights, which is fine. We can quite easily get away with that.
Would be a good idea.
These two cavities here are for downlights for us so that we can work. That's going to be over our workstation sort of area. So we'll be effectively where the lights are here. We'll get Chrissy to stand roughly where that is. So Chrissy's going to be about there. So where Chrissy, come forward a little bit please, babe. A little bit more towards towards the front of the vehicle. About there. Okay. So if you imagine that Chrissy's positioned roughly there, can you point up to where those lights are, please? So directly above where Chrissy is where those downlights are going to be, which is going to be great for immediately above our work area. So our work area is going to be fitted to the back of the cage here. So there's a few things for us to consider with that. We're going to work on getting the paneling up on the roof and along the sides. We're going to get some felt put on the sides as well, some cupboards built along the edges of the drawers, and panels on the sides as well, down the bottom there at the back. Get our workstations sorted out, our monitors mounted, and then it really is cut some little holes in the roof for the cables and stuff to feed through so the guys can do their fit off. And that's pretty much it. The only other consideration they've said is once everything is fully loaded, we'll get the vehicle weighed and we'll see how the weight distribution's looking, because if there's too much weight sitting at the back of the vehicle, we may need to look at upgrading the suspension to help carry the weight forward so that we don't lose control, because we don't want,
Yeah, that's good.
think of a seesaw, right? If you've got a fat kid at one end, not judging. Okay,
Be careful.
let's reframe that. Think of a seesaw. You've got a 2-year-old at one end and a 12-year-old at the other end. How's that?
That's a
That's
much
not so
better
judgy?
analogy. It's
Right.
probably not so PC.
Okay. Not shaming anyone. Okay, so we've got a heavier kid at one end and a lighter kid at the other end. You can use age, you can use body weight, whatever it might be. We're talking about physics here, okay? The heavier kid is going to lift the lighter kid up on a seesaw, right? So imagine the back of the bus or the back of the van is the heavier kid on the seesaw and the front's the lighter kid on the seesaw. We need to do something to support the bum of the heavier kid to make sure the lighter kid isn't lifted off the ground, because the lighter kid at the front is our steering, and our steering is pretty important.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we can actually turn corners, because if we're like riding and the front's too light, we don't have the weight and the traction, we're not going to be able to turn properly. We've got to keep that in mind. That'll be even more important when it's wet.
So Matt's got a pretty ambitious goal. He wants to have all the cosmetic-y stuff finished in a month. So
I reckon we can do it. So last thing, let's give you a quick heads up on what we've done with the solar. So you can see they've got the roof racks up here, which we bought 2 of these roof rack kits. They came in with a set of 3, and as they've installed these, because you can see if we look at the profile, the solar panels sit over the edge of the vehicle by about
3 inches.
Oh, yeah, look, if you're talking to old people, 3 inches, not judging again. It's just a different measurement, different unit of account. If your brain is imperial and not metric, then yes, you're talking inches, and it's probably about 3, but otherwise it's about 100 millimeters. For those of you who are used to imperial and you want an imperial to metric conversion, 3 inches is what, 200 cubic liters?
Oh gosh, don't ask me that. That's confusing.
So the roof racks have been really very, very cleverly used. Let's have a look at this. So what they've done is they've actually mounted some brackets underneath, and they've recessed them down. Instead of sitting them on top of the rack, they've sat them down. So from a height perspective, the vehicle's not another 4 or 5 centimeters or an inch. We're a quarter of a gallon shorter than what we would normally be. And it's going to improve like the wind side of things. If you have a look underneath there, you can see it's really, really close to the vehicle. The point at which the solar enters into the roof there is protected by the panel as well. And the great thing about it is up on top, it still enables us to be able to utilize those racks should we choose to. We haven't really discussed what we would do in that sense. I doubt we'll put anything up the top there, because it means that we're going to then restrict the amount of sunlight that we'll be able to get onto the roof racks.
So the only other thing which we'll probably look at doing down the track, we won't do it now primarily because of the cost of things, and I don't think we really need to at the moment, but we'll probably look at installing a ladder at some stage, or maybe having a foot ladder and stuff, so that we can check that the solar panels are clean, particularly if we're in an area where there are bats and birds and stuff like that. We don't want that to damage the solar panels. So we want to be able to get up there and
good maintenance,
keep them maintained nice.
We may be able to do that just by standing on the side here as I was then. I can get on the top and view those. Do you want to have a look and see if you can see the top of the panel?
Oh, based on where you were at, I'm not sure that's going to be possible, but
let's see. The top. Well, you can see underneath. Not quite. Okay, so that's going to be an ineffective cleaning strategy for Chrissy.
Well, what we could also do is you can get those extender pole things, and as long as it's got an angle, you can...
That'd be quite funny watching you do that.
Yeah, probably would actually.
So yeah, there's setups that you can get where the back of the van, the back door, can be utilised to like latch a ladder down that runs across without actually fitting it. It just sits inside that recess up the top. So we can look at that. We can look at a range of things, but yeah, that's pretty much it. That's where we are. This is episode 11-3.
11-3.
Van build. Still a bit to go, mainly cosmetics. And what's left to go in really is quite light. As far as what's going to go across the back, the heaviest thing to go across the back is going to be the mattress, and everything else from a weight point of view is probably going to sit a little bit more further forward of the rear axle. So again, seesaw physics, that weight should throw forward more than throw backwards. Yeah, so something for us to consider there.
So once we've finished doing the fit out of the cosmetics, then we'll be taking the vehicle back back to Sandgate and they will install the GPOs onto the walls, and then we're pretty much good to go. So that should hopefully only take a few days.
Yeah, put the lights into the roof and that's pretty much it.
So the goal is November.
November, head to Victoria.
Wish us luck.
Via New South Wales for about 6 weeks.
Obviously that's all pending us being able to do everything that we need to do and stuff. Very exciting.
See you on the next one.
Bye guys.